In the year 2004, when a young man named Kyle Warren was getting ready to leave his home for school, he noticed that his mother, Dawn, was acting strangely. She was sitting in her room, crying. When Kyle knocked on the door to see what was wrong, Dawn responded by shooting him with a tranquilizer dart gun. "Mom, are you trying to kill me?" Kyle asked as he felt the anesthetic take hold of him. But Dawn didn't respond. Instead, she picked up a Polaroid camera and snapped a picture of her unconscious son before tying him up and stuffing him into the back seat of her car. What was Dawn's motive? What happened to Kyle after he was found? And where is Dawn now? That morning, however, he noticed something unusual about his mother. Dawn. His hands and legs were tied together with duct tape, and he was unable to move. She had drugged her own son and taken a picture of him with a Polaroid camera before stashing him in the back seat. But why and where was she taking him? In a panic, he started banging on the back window, until someone inside the car in front of him turned around and screamed. Disoriented, he flagged down a passing motorist, who took him to a nearby gas station. Dawn claimed that she had been acting alone and had taken Kyle to an undisclosed location where she planned to keep him for ransom. She told the police that she had been planning with her mother to kidnap Kyle so they could collect on his $500,000 life insurance policy. On the morning of the incident, Dawn had given her a tranquilizer dart to keep in her pocket in case they needed it. She then shot Kyle and put him in the car while Brittany waited in the motel room next door. Later, Dawn came back and picked Brittany up, at which point they switched cars and drove to another location where they disposed of Kyle's clothes and destroyed the murder weapon. She insisted that Brittany had nothing to do with the crime. Did he agree that both women were equally guilty? Well, not exactly. He said that Dawn had shown no remorse for what she had done, and that he believed that she had actually killed Kyle. He said that she had been influenced by her mother, but that she was a dangerous person in her own right. He then sentenced her to 15 years in prison. He then sentenced her to 30 years in prison. However, when the police searched Brittany's room at the motel, they found several items that connected her to the crime. He had been stabbed multiple times in the chest and head, and his throat had been slashed. You bet she had. In fact, she tried to cash in on another $100,000 policy that Kyle's father Gary had, but she was denied because Gary was still alive. She is currently living in New Hampshire under the name April Dawn Nelson. As for Brittany, she is still incarcerated at the Chillicothe Correctional Center in Missouri. She will be eligible for parole in 2026. Police believe that he was killed between April 23rd and 25th. Although an autopsy was unable to determine an exact time of death. Because of this, authorities were never able to say with certainty when Kyle died. Was he killed before being put in the car or after? She also requested that the court declare her the sole owner of Kyle's $500,000 life insurance policy. So where is Dawn now? Gary opposed the move, arguing that the money should be split evenly between him and Kyle's surviving sister, Brittany, including the Polaroid camera and photographs of Kyle Warren, one of which was taken on the day that he disappeared. Why do you think Dawn shot her own son with a tranquilizer dart gun? And finally, how do you think Kyle's father, Gary, felt about the fact that Dawn was able to walk free after serving only 17 years in prison? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. During their trial, the prosecution argued that both women were equally guilty of murder, even though Brittany was only 19 years old at the time of the crime. Prosecutors alleged that Dawn had enlisted Brittany's help because she knew that as a minor she would receive a lighter sentence. However, defense attorneys claimed that Brittany acted impulsively and without her mother's knowledge. They also found a pair of scissors with what appeared to be blood on them. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Meanwhile, Dawn's trial was delayed due to mental health concerns. Her public defender argued that she suffered from mental illness and was unable to stand trial. However, after being declared fit to stand trial, she pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. And when they checked the motel room next door, they discovered traces of blood in the bathroom. However, it would be almost 2 weeks before either the mother or the daughter returned home. An officer was dispatched to the motel where they found both Dawn and Kyle's sister, Brittany. They were brought back to the station house for questioning. There, an employee called 911 and told them that a young man had just approached the counter claiming that he had been kidnapped. When police arrived, Kyle explained that he had been at home when his mother shot him with a tranquilizer dart. He said that he had no idea where she was taking him when she put him in her car, but that he managed to escape while she went into a convenience store. Unfortunately, when the officers asked Kyle where his mother was, he admitted that he had no idea. All he knew was that she had taken a Polaroid picture of him before leaving. The person quickly drove off, but not before Kyle noticed that it was a woman and that she was holding a camera. As they sped away, he realized with horror that the woman had taken a picture of him. Then everything went black again. He saw her through a window sitting in her bedroom, crying and mumbling to herself. Concerned, Kyle decided to check in on her. He knocked on the door, but instead of saying anything, Dawn raised a tranquilizer dart gun and fired at him. Startled, Kyle could only watch as the dart hit him in the shoulder. Immediately feeling the effects of the anesthetic, he collapsed onto the floor. Let's find out in today's episode of A Date with Murder. But when he looked up, he saw that she had a strange look on her face. It was as if she were possessed. After the last thing he remembered was asking his mother why she was trying to kill him. Everything went black. On April 2004, 17-year-old Kyle Warren left his family home in St. Charles County, Missouri, to attend school. As Kyle lay there struggling to breathe, he heard his mother say, "It's okay, it's okay." When Kyle regained consciousness, he found himself lying in the back seat of his mother's car. It turned out that the woman who had been driving the car was Dawn. After regaining consciousness for a second time, Kyle managed to free himself from his bonds and stumbled out of the car. Authorities immediately began searching for Dawn and Kyle's father. Gary contacted the media to ask her to turn herself in. On April 28, 2004, 9 days after Kyle was found, police received a call from a woman who said that she had seen Dawn at a motel in O'Fallon, Missouri. When questioned separately, Dawn and Brittany gave conflicting accounts of what had happened. With the evidence mounting against her, Brittany confessed to her involvement in the crime. Although Brittany had confessed, the police still hadn't found Kyle. Where was he? On May 6, 2004, 12 days after he was initially reported missing, Kyle's body was found in a wooded area near the side of a road in Lincoln County, Missouri. Following Kyle's death, Dawn and Brittany were charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and armed criminal action. In the end, the jury agreed with the prosecution and convicted Brittany of first-degree murder and armed criminal action. But what did the judge have to say about this case? Judge Edward A. O'Keefe said that this was one of the most brutal cases he had ever seen. However, O'Keefe also had some harsh words for Brittany. But what about the life insurance policy? Had Dawn actually cashed in on Kyle's $500,000 policy? If you think that's messed up, wait till you hear what happened next. After being sentenced, Dawn filed for divorce from Gary, citing that their marriage was irretrievably broken. But that wasn't all. In the end, the court ruled that Dawn was entitled to half of the life insurance money and Gary was entitled to the other half. Dawn was released from prison on February 22, 2022, after serving 17 years behind bars. But what do you think about this case? Do you agree that both Dawn and Brittany were equally guilty? And thank you for watching.